Those are the headlines this hour, but we start this hour in Europe, where Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has issued a statement regarding Ukraine's progress towards EU membership. President Zelenskyy is addressing an EU summit from Pavlovsk area in eastern Ukraine that has been recently targeted by Russia. During his address, he referred to an enlargement report card issued by Brussels and stated that Ukraine is confidently moving towards joining the European Union. This comes after a statement from the EU's Enlargement Commissioner, Marta Kos, who praised Kyiv's efforts to implement reforms during wartime. She also warned that Ukraine must avoid backsliding on anti-corruption measures to stay in the lead for EU membership, noting that corruption remains the biggest obstacle in Ukraine's path. While addressing European lawmakers, Kos appreciated the reforms undertaken by Ukraine amid the ongoing war. Ukraine is competing with countries such as Moldova, Albania and Montenegro, which were also praised by the Enlargement Commissioner for their pro-EU reforms. Ukraine has long sought EU membership, and President Zelenskyy has been advocating strongly for it. However, the government has faced criticism for allegedly weakening anti-corruption watchdogs in the country. Okay, now joining us is Major General Dr. Rajan Kochhar. He is a senior strategic and defence expert, and he joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Major General Kochhar, for joining us here on the programme. What will European Union membership mean for Kyiv in both the short term during the war and, of course, the long term as well?
Thank you, Thomas. It's a very interesting development because I think Ukraine was desperate to become a member of the European Union, and I think now grounds are being created. Short term, yes, why Zelenskyy wants to be part of the European Union is that his country has suffered a large-scale devastation. A large infrastructure has been destroyed in Ukraine, and obviously when there is a ceasefire and this war will end, the process of reconstruction of Ukraine will start. And who is going to help Ukraine in the reconstruction? European Union is one strong group of countries, and if you are a member of the European Union, then it becomes all the much easier you organizationally to seek funds, technical expertise, and the wherewithal which is available with the EU nations to rebuild Ukraine. That I think is the short-term objective. And when we talk about the long-term objective, I think it facilitates Ukraine's entry into NATO at some point of time. Because if you become a member of the European Union, you have better credentials of seeking membership of the NATO. So I think that is the larger context which I actually view this right now. Because according to the reports, I think they are talking that certain judicial reforms have been carried out by Zelenskyy. Certain procedures have been actually taken where the oligarchic influence and judicial independence has been or being restored or on the path of restoration. So much will actually depend because Ukraine has a very strong track record of corrupt practices, and I have been speaking to some business people of India who were operating in Ukraine, and they confirmed to me that there is an organizational corruption in Ukraine, and it's not easy to get work done. So it will be quite interesting to see now how Zelensky is going to overcome this uh, you, the demolishing of the roots of corruption, because corruption does not go overnight.
Yes.
You have to create mechanisms, checks and balances at every step to ensure that the people in power do not succumb to temptations. So I think this would be a very interesting challenge for Ukraine, and I think only time will tell. And in the larger context, I feel they are looking for a membership into NATO.
Okay, Major General Kochar, of course, there are certain criteria of rules and reforms that need to be made before a state is integrated into the European Union. Of course, political reforms, essential, fair and free, regular elections, separation of powers, democratic institutions. But of course, judicial independence and particularly, of course, the corruption frameworks is where Ukraine can be said to have fallen flat so far. Of course, Ukraine is in war, which means martial law is enacted in the country. There can't be any elections there. In regards to the reform, how difficult will it be for Ukraine to implement countless further reforms in such an intense time for them, which of course a war with Russia certainly is?
Thomas, as I actually look at this situation, I think it will be very, very difficult for Ukraine to actually align the reforms at a time when a war is actually going on. Things can only happen for the Ukraine once this war is over. And I don't think this membership will take place in a hurry or the way this report. I think this is only the initial step. There is a process involved in getting into the European Union, and corruption was one strong factor. I would say that apart from the other institutional reforms which Ukraine will need to actually carry out, including holding of elections.
Yes.
And these elections have to be fair and free. So that would also have to be seen, because in the present context, I don't visualize that this membership is going to happen in a hurry.
Yes, indeed. Major General Kochar, do stay with us. We have further updates coming out of the Russia-Ukraine war, where President Zelenskyy says that he visited troops near the embattled city of Pokrovsk to show support for units defending the vital logistics hub as Russia prepares and presses its advance. That very same day, Ukrainian forces launched over 110 drones plus multiple projectiles at Russia's Belgorod region. And now, according to officials, civilians were injured in several border area villages after attacks on homes and on vehicles. The drone offensive comes amid rising tensions along the frontier, with Kiev using aerial attacks to push back Russian advances, even as its own forces remain under heavy pressure near cities like Pokrovsk. Meanwhile, Russia claims that its defensive shot down 204 Ukrainian fixed-wing drones and that Ukraine lost around 1,300 troops across various combat zones. Now, of course, Major General Kochar, we are coming up to what is going to looking to be like a battle for the city of Pokrovsk, a hugely important logistics hub for Kiev and the rest of Ukraine. President Zelenskyy said that he visited the city of Pokrovsk. What does this show? And of course, what do you think that he is concerned about going into this fight? And what would that visit have done for morale?
Thomas, see, this morale, which you have actually mentioned, is a very important factor in war, and especially when wars are prolonged. And moreover, when the losses are more on your side, then the troops get demoralized and they don't have the will to fight. So I think Zelensky has realized that there have been heavy losses in this battle of Pokros, and especially you see this your Pokros is a very strategically vital axis for Ukraine in the Donbas region because it controls the routes to Kramatorsk and Sloviansk. So these are the key Ukrainian strongholds in Donbas as part of the eastern Donetsk region. So I think if Pokros falls, the next uh, uh, objective for the Russian forces is going to be the Sloviansk region and the Kramatorsk region. So I think from that point of view, this visit is very, very crucial because Zelensky realizes that if this stronghold is lost to the Russians, he will find it very, very difficult to contain the Russians to take these other two areas in the Donbass region. And this war of attrition is now moving into the next scale because Russian forces also realize that the winters are approaching. And in the winters, it's very, very difficult to have a ground offensive and taking over of land and etc. It is mostly restricted to a missile or a air warfare or a drone warfare. So I think this criticality of the window, because the window for the Russian defense forces is limited to about a month now. And what my reading of the battle is, that this battle of attrition is going to further intensify in the next 1 month. And
Yes.
that is why Zelensky is here to tell his troops to encourage them and give them that assurance that whatever they want to fight the battle, especially they would actually require more of missiles, anti-air defense systems, drones, ammunition, which is fast running out for the Ukrainians. The kind of support from Trump is also waning. So I think this is one of the major reasons Zelensky is here today.
Yes, thank you very much, Major General Kochar. It's always a pleasure to speak to you on these matters. For our next story, we move